You're listening to the Mommy Talks podcast, where we firmly believe that mommying while juggling a business and managing a family can be hard at times. So how are others accomplishing it? Self-appointed Mommy Executive Officer of the Money Making Mommies, Asha Gillum, will help you redefine what mommying looks like while running a business and managing a family. Here's your host, educator, entrepreneur, and oatmeal raisin cookie lover, Asha Gillum.
Hi guys, and welcome back. So on this next episode, I had to tackle this topic because it was something that was sitting on my heart. I just had to get into this because there is a lot of talk in regards to someone calling themselves a single parent versus a parent that is simply single. What's the difference? I had to tackle this because I myself identify as a single parent, and I could not be biased and just state my own opinion. So I was able to find two other people with different statuses than myself to let's talk about it. We got into this topic, but something that I found out was very interesting. We all had this one thing in common, and it was a reoccurring theme, and it may be the same with you in your situation as well. But in order to check that, you have to check out this episode.
I'm excited to have you each consider sharing this story with the Mommy Talks podcast community. First, I don't know which order you guys want to go in, so let's go by first name. Hey, Kevin, can you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about who you are and what it is that you do?
Okay. My name is Kevin, and first of all, Asher, am I pronouncing it correctly?
It's Asha. It's Asha.
Okay. I want to thank you for having me on. The fact that you're willing to talk about this topic and just not accepting it the way it is and want to hear more about it, I appreciate that. About single mothers. I'm glad that you want to explore more about that conversation, so I appreciate you doing that. Okay. So I have a podcast, Mr. Reality, on Anchor, where reality speaks. That's my podcast, and pretty much talk about things that's not sugar-coated. The topic is a range of topics. From parenting is, of course, my area that I talk about the most, but any topic is up for discussion without the filter and just from an honest point of view. That's why I started mine, because I've heard the what's the word, the politically correct things, or I don't want to get in trouble with my job, so I say the right things. You see people on TV or interviews, they got to say things to make sure they're not fired by their thing the next day. So they just say whatever is popular to say. I try to eliminate saying what's popular, then just let's get with the truth. I don't want to ramble on too much. So that's it.
Thank you so much, and you're more than welcome. Me and the Nateria. Am I saying your name correctly? Awesome, go me. So we actually had this discussion one day on Facebook, and it was just you know what? I want to expand on this topic. So I was like, you know what? Let me get her, and then let me get Mr. Reality, because you reached out to me one time and you were, voicing your opinion, which I'm open to. If it makes sense, hey, who am I to argue with something that makes sense, right? It's not just the way that I feel. No, that's not right. But so that's why I asked you guys on, and so you're welcome. But again, thank you both for agreeing to come on and talk about this topic. So Ms. Nateria, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it is that you do exactly?
I am a real estate agent here in Greenwood, South Carolina. I'm fairly new. I've been doing it for about 2 years. I work with a company called Weichert Realtors. I got into real estate because I got tired of the same old jobs, dead end jobs here. So I was always interested in doing real estate, and I just took a leap of faith, and I've been loving it ever since.
So what's the process like? Was it hard? Because that's something that to me is very interesting doing real estate. I don't think I would jump out there, but is the process for anyone listening, if they were interested in doing that, is it long? Is it worth it? Do you feel like the process was worth it?
Absolutely. Because you are your own flexible, especially if you have kids. And now it can be tough if you have kids, if you are a single parent. You got to have a great support system, especially if you're going to just jump out there and go full time. You have to build your clientele. But the process, it was pretty fast. I did a fast track program in Greenville, South Carolina, and I passed the test, thank God, and now I'm here. So I definitely think it's worth it.
Thank you so much for sharing that information. Now, Mr. Reality, let's jump back to you. When did you first become interested in what it is that you do, like running your podcast, and why exactly? Like, what was it about podcasting that kind of like sparked an interest for you to be like, let me start this podcast and let me say what I gotta say and not really care about being politically correct?
Well, I was doing it for about a year now. By profession, I'm actually a currency trader, so that's what I do before, to actually make money, I trade, right? But Can I just interject? Like, we're gonna have to do another episode just on that topic alone, because like my podcast normally is it's focused mostly on financial literacy and the importance of a mother, expanding her knowledge. So we definitely got to link up for that one as well. But you can continue. No, I'm so sorry. No, that's not a problem. No, it's because I decided to start the podcast because, just like I said earlier, you hear people say a lot of things and they just say what's the thing to say. And, I heard, and like just having conversations with people and just stuff you hear in the media, even on social media, people even get on there and just talk a lot of foolishness about certain things. I'm like, come on, people, say the truth. Say what's really, don't, even though some people are hiding behind a keyboard, they still not being honest, a lot of them, because it's like, if you're going to bring up a topic, let's talk about it. Let's dig deep into it and let's get into it, So that's why now with my podcast, I'll be honest, I need to be a little bit more consistent with mine, because sometimes, I'll put up a new episode of something and let it sit there for about 2 weeks or 3 weeks before I do something else. So my consistency, I definitely need to do work on that. I'm not going to deny that, but that's what I do. When I hear, and sometimes when I hear like stuff out there and I'm like, that sounds like a good topic to discuss. Like some of the stuff like, equal pay, the truth behind equal pay and stuff like that. Why it's not really happening. So, that's what I do.
Well, listen, do not feel guilty, because I feel like we all have room for improvement, including myself. So, hey. Now, Ms. Niteria, I feel like when you answered your question, telling us a little bit about yourself, you kind of like ran 1 and 2 together, like why you first became interested in doing real estate was basically because you were tired of the like dead-end jobs, basically. I would say after 2 years, how about this? Let me change your question. After about 2 years of doing it full time, right? You're doing it full time.
Uh-huh.
Do you enjoy it? Because you said that it was worth it. So do you like wholeheartedly enjoy what you do today?
Yes.
Awesome.
And
what about your No, you can go ahead. Sorry.
The reason I enjoy it is because, I enjoy hearing who just do not have a clue on how the process works. I know when we were looking for a house in the beginning, we were just lost. And you don't know who to trust. You don't know if, they're giving you the right information or if they have any hidden agendas. It was just a lot. And so with me doing real estate, it just makes me understand a lot of especially my first time home buyers, just to make them feel comfortable. Like, hey, I know exactly where you're coming from. I was there. Just to be somebody that they can lean on and trust through the process of their home buying, because it's one of the biggest purchases they're gonna make in their life. So it can be scary.
Listen, I'm so glad to hear you say that, because like, to me, that just did something to my soul, right? About like 2 years ago, I thought I was ready to jump out there. Then I ran across Dave Ramsey. I'm so thankful. Thank you, Jesus, for Dave Ramsey. Now, I don't go with everything that this man says, but what he did say and what caught my attention was, you are not ready to buy a house until you are free of debt. Do you hear me? And so I was still going through the process, listening to the realtors. And honestly, I don't feel they had my best interest at heart. I feel like they were just out for a commission check, because you can get me pre-approved, but you're not telling me about this interest that I'm going to have to pay over the years, in addition to someone that may have had exceptional credit. You know what I mean? So just to hear you say that, girl, listen.
Yeah, it's a lot. You can't be for the commission, because you won't last long. People will pick up on that easily, like you did. You have to really go in wanting to help them and just showing your value. So it's definitely not about a check. And I've told people before, hey, you might want to wait a few years before you consider buying a house, because it just doesn't make sense if you're struggling now. When you're a homeowner, this house is back in the market because you can't afford it. You're not renting, you're now responsible for everything. So it's definitely a process that you have to go through.
Listen, amen. Thank you for the truth, sister. Listen, so Mr. Reality, we are going to get a little bit personal, guys. Hope you don't mind. But what is your current marital status? Are you married, single? Like, what's your status?
I'm actually single. I was divorced like since 2005, something like that. Haven't done it since. Not that I wouldn't, it's just the opportunity didn't present itself. But so now that's what I'm current. I mean, I had girlfriends here and there, but it's just a fact of sometimes based on my belief system sometimes, and sometimes what you expect from people. You get let down a lot, and I don't believe in wasting my time or somebody else's time. If I don't see it's not going to work, you just got to move on. No fights might carry on.
Now, something that I did learn is you will never be disappointed if you don't have any expectations from someone else, okay? So, now you did mention that you are divorced. Do you have any children? If so, how many?
Well, I have 3 of them. 1 girl, 2 boys. My children are grown now. So that's why in some of my podcasts, when I speak of certain things, I speak from the point of view of parenting, because, the fact that I've went through 3 grown children, I can speak on a lot of things that I've experienced as a parent, when I was single, and even dating as a single father, without a wife, and the obstacles that it came with it, where some women are like, oh, you got young kids, oh, never mind. And it's like, okay, fine, not going to deny them, because, unfortunately some other guys have done to get a date, so, but it's like, so I've had my dating woes. Not only women get those for having kids, you go through it too. Like, oh no, forget it. And they think, oh, baby mama drama coming. No, forget it. So I was like, all right.
Listen, the baby mama drama. Oh yes, that. Oh. That'd be like, nobody has time for baby mama drama. Now, listen, it does not, I don't want to assume, so let me ask the question instead of saying what I was going to say. Has your life turned out the way that you imagined that it would when you decided to have children? If so, how? If not, explain.
No, it did not, because one of the things was I've always wanted kids, but you know, like the traditional way you want to be married, hopefully you have the kids with the person you're married to and all of that other stuff, and then it didn't happen that way, you know, because I already had 2 kids before I had my first wife, you know, so even though it didn't happen that way, I had to deal with the cards that I was dealt, you know, having kids and doing my part as a parent to those children, and finding a wife who said, hey, you know, this is what it is. And so no, what I had in mind and how it turned out is not, but in the end, I'm happy with the result. Now I'm happy with it, because when you work with it, deal with what you have and do your part, usually you'll be happy with the result if you put a solid effort in. That's the key, putting the effort in. So
now your turn to be in the hot seat, Miss Natiria. What is your current marital status?
I am currently married with 2.5 children. I say in a half because I'm due in a few more months with my first little boy. So that's pretty exciting. However, I didn't plan to have any children. How I had my life planned out. So, I mean, I wanted, you know, to be married, but I didn't really put too much thought into children. But I thank God for my children, because they have really helped mold me into the woman that I am today. So.
Okay, so you did mention that your life, like originally you had not planned to have kids, but you did envision being married. And so you do have 2 daughters, and they are freaking awesome. I have met them, and tell them I said hello. Since we don't have our little sessions anymore. We used to have late night sessions on my way to the nightclub when I was living that kind of life. Now you guys are actually, well, when your kids, you are raising your kids together, you are still having babies. And are you excited for the little boy? How's your husband? Is he excited to finally have a son?
Oh yeah, he's excited. Still want a boy. We thought the last one was going to be a boy. So it's been 2 years since our last child. So
how old?
What'd you say?
How long in between your kids? Sorry.
The first 2 are 3 years apart, and then this baby now, I haven't had a baby since for 10 years. She'll be 10 in October, and he's due in November. So,
Jesus.
Yeah.
Starting all over.
This wasn't planned, by the way. He was a surprise baby, so.
He was a COVID baby.
Y'all, COVID baby, pandemic baby.
Y'all, you know how like back in the day they say what were they called? Baby boomers? Now we have pandemic babies.
Pandemic babies. You're right. You are right. So we're gonna welcome open arms, and hopefully we'll be complete, because I don't plan on having any more. But I said, I wouldn't plan on having 3. I wouldn't plan on having none, and I'm about to have 3. So. Yeah.
Well, congratulations on your family and how everything has turned out. Because as you guys know, that is not the story for everybody, even like listening to Mr. Reality. So you did mention, Mr. Reality, that you have 2 kids, right? That were prior, right? You said 3, but 2 prior to your wife. So that means that your first baby mama was just a baby mama, and then you got married.
Yeah, the first one, well, it wasn't supposed, once again, it wasn't supposed to be like that, you know, but it didn't work out the way. And I never believe you stay with someone for the sake of children, because now you're going to make the kids' lives unhappy, your life unhappy. Nothing is worse than like, gosh, I got to go home. You know, when you got that feeling that you got to go home, like you're upset. Because I tried with the second child, because both of them is with the same lady. You know, try to do it for the sake of the kids, and you realize real quick, that's not the way to do it. And everybody to this day is happier for it. So
were you guys able to like co-parent? Like, or did you raise the kids, or were they raised by her?
No, we were able to co-parent. I mean, it was difficult in the beginning, and that's why my topic of when a woman says she's a single mother, I take a step back, because I know the reality behind all of that is like, you know, that's what the world here is, a single mother. But there's a father like myself. Like, for example, the only reason why we didn't have the kids equal amount of time, because there's only 7 days in a week. That's what prevented it. But otherwise, because when I first moved to Florida, while she finished nursing school, I said, you finish up school, because I got married, ready to leave for Florida. And I said, I'm going to take the children while you finish up school. And they're not in the way, you get a chance to do. Of course, at first she resisted, but the reality is, like, you don't have to worry about it. Do what you got to do to be with me, and when you finish, we'll work it out. So when I moved to Florida, they came with me. Because, you know, I didn't like, actually, because, I mean, to be honest with you, my daughter, when I got married, and I first said to my daughter that I'm getting ready to move to Florida, because I was one of those people did not want my child calling another man dad. So I had to make sure I was around to make sure that did not happen, and also be a parent to these kids. So as I thought at age, what was she, about 9 or 10, that okay, I could move away and maybe the visit can happen. And then when I said to her, because her brother didn't really care about, he's just, at that age, he was just worrying about whatever he was worrying about. So I said to my daughter, I'm getting ready to move to Florida. And she said, okay, when are we leaving? And when she said that, I said, I'll let you know when we're leaving. And that's when I worked out with her mom, let them come with me. And
that's pretty cool that you're that she was willing to allow you to, you know, take the kids to pursue her dreams. Because I don't know, like, and my mom did the same. She gave me the option. I didn't meet my dad until I was like 11 or 12, and he had 7 kids, and he asked every one of them. I don't know if it was like around the same time, but at some point he's explained to me that he asked each and every one of our moms, like, hey, can you let me get to know this child, because he lived in a different state. And my mom came to me, she's like, hey, listen, do you want to go meet this person? And I was just like, I always wanted to know my dad, so yes, I would love to go, you know. So it's pretty cool to hear, just like, you know, she was willing to do that. Because honestly speaking, on this podcast, I don't know, I have attachment issues. I have a hard time going through the summertime sharing, so I don't know. I feel like the mama bear, I don't know. That's just me being honest. I don't know, but I commend any woman willing to do that, because it takes a lot.
And you know what? What you said brings back the point of the words like allow, let, you know? These were some of the key words that used to be disturbing to, because it's no problem for the father to leave, and okay, but when the child is with the father, you have people, oh my God, I can't believe the mother allowed you. What do you mean allow? That's my child too. There's no allowing or letting. So when you said that your dad said, "Can you let me?" I'm like, oh God, let me. But these are certain little things, because you met your dad at 12. I met mine in 2008 for the first time. So I'm one of like 54 kids. And so it's like, there's absolutely no relationship there. And from that experience of not knowing my own, I made sure that I did not pass that down to my own children. 2008, for the first time meeting a guy at that age, I'm like, what can he possibly teach me that I care about? He got a ton load of other kids. So, so these are all important factors. So, it's like
definitely on that. I met my father at 9, and we just didn't have a relationship as I would hope for. And I just did not want my kids to experience that. I wanted, I wanted that unit. I wanted that closeness that I didn't get, so I can wholeheartedly understand where you're coming from, Kevin.
So, it's so crazy because we all have different situations. We all have different statuses at this moment, but we all have something in common. And that is the, absentee father part of this, and possibly kind of like some of how this even conversation came about, right? Because I wanted this to come from like different perspectives. I feel that I'm a single mom, but according to you guys, I may not be. So listen, in your own words, what does it mean to be a single parent versus a parent who is single? Mr. Kevin, I'm gonna let you go first, Mr. Reality.
All right, because here's what happened, right? Back in the day, a single mother was considered a woman who had children and wasn't married. Fast forward 20, 25 years, the term has flipped. Whether the ladies who say it meant it in the way it's absorbed by society, I should say, is now the terms mean a woman who's doing it by herself. So when you hear a lady out there saying she's a single mother, people around her internalize, oh my God, the father ran out on her. She's doing this by herself. Now, you may not mean it in that way, but people around you who now pick up that term, that's how they're starting to see. So for some guys who hear their child's mother might say they're a single mother, and people know them in the community might say, wait a minute, I thought he was involved. She said she's a single mother. He doesn't do anything, just because of that phrase. So the difference is being a mother who's single and a single mother. To me, a single mother is someone who does it all by herself. There's no father taking the kids after school, for the summer, for the holidays. It's just, he might as well be dead. That's, to me, when they're just not involved. Sending a check is not being involved. Anybody can send a check. Now, when you have them involved doing the after school, the holidays, the summers, then to me, you're not being a single mother, because you do have help. You do have that time away from the children. It's not like everything is on your shoulders. That's how I define it. I mean, I could be wrong in my perspective, but that's how I've always seen it. Because just like my kid's mother, none of them could honestly say they are a single mother in the term that society view it. Like, you're a single because you're not married, but you do not raise these kids alone. So, I mean, that's how I see it.
And now I do have an additional question for you. When you took your kids to Florida, did you consider yourself a single father because they were not with the mom, or did you still feel that you guys were still What did you refer to yourself as?
Actually, I didn't actually put I guess guys don't put a label on it. Like maybe now they probably do, but at that time I didn't. It wasn't thinking of a label. It's just I'm here in Florida with my children. Plus I had a wife who assisted, and their mother, they could talk to their mother whenever she called. She had input certain things. Get your mother's input on it on certain things. So her input was never not involved, so the kids had, there was never like, don't tell your mother. I mean, you have those don't tell your mother moments that you do, you know what brings them up, especially with your son, don't tell your mother, like, especially in the dating world, don't say nothing, But outside of that, no, it was, of course, I mean, I'm not going to sit there and say it was picture perfect. Blended families never is. Everybody had to take their getting used to each other and understand how these children movement are and so on and so forth. So I'm not going to sit down and say it was all great. But she had children, I had children, and guess what? We're going to make it work. And to be honest with you, even though we're divorced, since 2005, the children that she brought to this relationship, that I'm still in touch with them to this day, because I feel what happened between me and her has no impact on the kids. They're who they are. So to this day, I'm still in touch with those children. So,
That's respectful. Now, a question, because I feel like I'm kind of having this situation that you're speaking of, like someone was involved in my older son's life when his dad was not present, and so I want to hear your definition, definitely, Nataria, on single parent before I go deeper into mine. But I mean, it's like, did you in the children that she brought into the marriage, did you guys have, like, did you have a relationship with their father? Was that okay, like, that you continued the relationship? Did he have any issues with that, if you don't mind my asking?
Are you asking me?
Yes, sorry.
Oh, because you mentioned her name and then you started.
Yeah, because I was about to go all into my situation, like similar to yours, but then I said, well, let me just hold off a little bit and then get her perspective before I did. So I'm sorry for the confusion.
What I've done, because I've dated women with children, and one of my first rule is I don't go in. I'm not trying to replace your father. So if you have a relationship, and if you don't have a relationship, because I'm this type of guy, if your father isn't doing the right thing by you, and I know your father, I might have some words for your father on the side. You know what I mean? I'm that guy. Even though your child might be with me and you're kind of, and I see you're not, I'm going to be like, hey, your son lives here, your daughter, and guess what? How come I don't hear? You're not calling as much. I'm that guy. I don't care if I upset you, because at the end of the day, it's not about you. It's about these children. Now, in the case of my ex-wife, they didn't really have that much fatherly input in their lives, so it's pretty much just me. So I didn't have anybody, in the way of what I was doing. So, but I have had others where I definitely said, listen, I don't get in the way of it. I encourage it. And if I see it slacking and I see a room for me to say something about, hey, listen, I think you need to be a little bit more involved, then I will do that. So
that's respect. You can't do anything but respect that. I like that response. I'm gonna have to check you out a little bit more, Mr. Reality, because goodness, you speaking the truth. Okay. And now, Miss Nataria, you as a married woman, in your own words, because you've not experienced it, what does it mean to be a single parent versus a parent who is single, in your words?
My words, I'm kind of the opposite of Mr. Kevin here. Just from my perspective, a single parent is someone who may not be with the father or mother of their child, but they're co-parenting, versus a parent who is single. It's just what it is. A parent that's single that does not have help from the other parent. That's what it seems to me. That's what I see. But I mean, I don't know. I hope to never be a single parent. But I've had a friend before who was raised in a home with both her parents, but her father, had addictions to alcohol, and it was almost like she was a single parent, I guess, or a parent who's single. I'm confusing myself. Hold on. It was almost like, because he was there in the house, but he wasn't like a strong presence, So that's just my take on it.
So I feel like I'm a little bit confused. So you're saying a single parent is someone that they are a single parent, they co-parent, but they are doing it separately. But they are in fact co-parenting.
Right.
Versus a parent who is single and doing it on their own. That is a single parent. So a parent that is single is also single in doing. See, the way that I look at it is like a parent who is single is just somebody who is single, right? But they are co-parenting. So I think I look at it different. I look at it like a single parent, and that's different from Mr. Kevin as well, because the way that he explained it is a little bit different. So I feel like a single parent is a parent. Like, you are a parent, I am a parent, we are doing this, we're co-parenting, but we are doing this apart. Now, I feel I am a single parent, and I call myself a single parent because Mr. Kevin did mention that if they provide support and they're getting them for the summer and all this stuff, but it's 365 days out of the year, Mr. Kevin. The summertime, that's only like 2 months. And we live in a whole different state, and the support is not half. You get what I mean? So that's why I say I'm a single parent, because the support isn't half. And you can say, because hey, I live in a different state, but you did not allow that to stop you from being involved in your children's lives. And you also said allow. You know what I'm saying? Like, you don't have to allow me to be in. If you wanted to be there, you can be there. So how am I not a single parent? Because I'm not stopping them from helping support these kids on those other days, although they're in my custody. One of them, I actually had to, well, both of them at some point, I had to put them on child support. But the older one, he started doing a little bit better, and so I took him off. But then it slacked. So ladies, if you're listening, if you have them on child support, don't ever take them off. I'm sorry, Mr. Kevin. I know that might be.
No, actually, for some of the men listeners, if you don't have, it is good to be on child support, believe it or not, because if you ever decide to go for custody for your children, what is on legal paper is what they're going to look at. If you just say, I'm going to file for custody because I feel the mother isn't doing, and you just show up one day and there's no visitation or anything, it's going to be very difficult. So I put myself on child support actually because of that reason. Because if I should ever go for custody, I don't want to hear like, where have you been? There's no proof that you are ever involved in these kids' lives. You know what I mean? That's how the system works. So I said, okay, if that's the case, I'm going to make sure that if I ever have to file for custody, there is no little loophole like, well, you weren't around. There's no documentation. There's no visitation. There is nothing to say, well, I've been paying. Where's the proof you've been paying? I gave her cash. All of that means nothing. So guys.
That's smart.
Now, one of the things that you said, when I said single parent, now, a person who helps out, if it's somewhat even, because I don't want you to mistake what I'm saying. Someone who see their kid 10 times a year, I'm not going to say to you that they're helping you out. You understand? I'm talking about where it's fairly even as they can be, where they maybe live in the same town or they put a real effort in and there's no fighting about, oh, well, I'm busy, I don't want to, if where there's like a true effort and it's fairly even, you see your kid, maybe 9 months, 10 months out of the year versus 10 times out of the year. You understand what I mean?
Yeah, that makes sense. And not to like say, what you're saying, Nataria, it's not, valid, because I respect what you're saying as well. It's like, you just feel like they're co-parenting. I just feel like, what is co-parenting? You get what I'm saying? Because like, although I don't feel that they are half, like I don't feel that we split it half, I still do feel like we are co-parenting, but I will still refer to myself as a single parent. And I've never taken the time to consider how it made them feel because they've never challenged me on it. You get what I mean? Like, I feel like the way that you're involved, Mr. Reality, you don't see many men. We might have should have had your husband on here too, not Terry. You don't see many guys like going to me that hard. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I'm not saying that they don't exist. I just feel that a lot of them, kind of like when we did touch on the allowed situation, it's just kind of like the mom is like the primary parent, and it's really, you can't really challenge her on much. So you saying that you put yourself on child support just to have that right, it's kind of, I've never even heard that before. Have you heard that before, Natiri?
No, I have not. I've never heard anyone willingly wanting to be put on child support, but I understand from how he explained it why he would have done that, to have proof showing, hey, I'm here for my kids.
Listen.
Because when I did it, don't get me wrong, when I did it, it's like, man, this is the only way. So I had to bite the bullet and said, okay, let the process take its place, and I try to educate a lot of guys on these steps. Like, listen here, especially the ones, because one of the things about me, when it comes to parenting and friends, you can't be a deadbeat daddy and you and I call ourselves friends. I can't be friends with people like that I know for sure, because nothing is worse than you spend more time hanging out with a girl than your own kids. Because I have a daughter right now, right? And it's very hard nowadays to meet someone who don't have a child. So my question to her was like, if you meet a man who has a child, what's the first thing you pay attention to? And she said, how much time he's spending with his child. I said, good, because that's a key thing, because that will be your future if you ignore it. So.
You really have given me a lot to think about. Now, when this airs, guys, I do not want anyone to feel like I'm bashing either of my son's fathers, because that is not the purpose of me calling myself a single parent. I do give them the utmost respect. They are some pretty okay dads, Here in Mr. Kevin, though, listen, but I mean, they are some really good dads, and I have nothing bad to say about the support that they do provide. You get what I mean? It's just my title is what I go by, and like, I don't even know if it offended them or offends them. So it's something I might need to, like, you know, just ask one day. Not that I don't know if I would change, because I still feel that I'm primarily the person, like, for these kids, and I'm not stopping them, even though we live in a different state. I'm not stopping them. It's just, I don't know. So the next question, let's just move on, because I feel like I don't want it to make it sound like I'm bashing them on this right where we are. What are your thoughts on dating as a single parent, for a parent who is single? Natalia, I'll let you go first. Sorry.
I think you definitely should, once you realize that the relationship is serious, I think you should definitely try to have a relationship with the children, because that, I feel the relationship with the children is just as important as the relationship with that person. And you know, they may not get along at first, but I do think there should be an effort. The children should be, you know, the children should, I think they should have a say-so on how they feel about the person you're dating.
How long, now this is a trick question. How long do you think someone should date before they would, like, if he has no kids, just say they both have kids, right? These two people, they're dating, they both have kids. How long should they meet each other's kids, do you think? How long should they date one another before they meet the kid?
I would say, I don't know, at least 6 months, at least. You know, some people, if you're very protective over your kids, you know, maybe a year or two. It just depends on, I guess, the relationship you have with your children and how serious you are with the person you're with. If you don't see it going anywhere, or if you don't see, you know, it being serious, I wouldn't even introduce my kids to you. So I guess it just depends on the relationship that you have with your girl.
So, Mr. Reality, I'm gonna go to you with the same question. What are your thoughts on dating as a single parent, for a parent who is single?
My thing, just like how you say your name again, Natalia? Did I say it right? Like she said, you can't meet the kids too early, and this is one of the things that I've ran into, where women want me to meet their kids a little too quickly, and I don't think some of them even give it consideration, to be honest with you, just from listening to them. And sometimes I remember I said that to a lady one time, like, well, you know, I just known you for less than a month. I don't want to meet your child. You know, gotta see first. And she actually got upset. You know, she was like, you know, kind of got us, what difference does it make? I said, it makes a lot of difference. You do not want to see your child, especially if it's a girl, having men coming in or out of your house. You don't want that for you.
That's very important. That can be traumatizing, but that's a different story.
Yeah, so those are one of the things, because just 6 months to a year before you meet the children, because for me to meet the kids, it has to be very serious. Now, it has not happened in that case for me, because for some reason, sometimes when you go, the kids are already there and so on and so forth. But, you know, there were some times I couldn't avoid it. But when I can avoid it, I don't do it. Sometimes they show up, the kids already there, and it's like, you know.
You did not say you try to avoid the kids, y'all.
I tried to avoid the situation, because I know me. You know? I know me. Once I get involved, I'm the type of person, if I get involved and I like your children, regardless of where the relation, like my last girlfriend, me and her been separated. We went our separate ways a couple years ago. And to this day, her kids still come around me, to this day, because I separate the children from their parents, so to speak. I'm not there because I like your mother. I'm there because guess what? You've been in my life this long. I've taught you things, so on, and you know what? I just don't want you to fall to the wayside because I'm no longer there. I want to still keep progress, see what's going on with you. And the mom had no objection. So I continued doing what I was doing while we were a couple.
Have you ever considered doing like some kind of mentorship? Like some of these young men, I think that would be something of value, like to just be able, especially hearing again how we all have the same thing in common, where the absentee father, you know what I'm saying? It's just like that is a lot of kids today, like they don't have that father figure to help mold them into what a real man should be, to even when they have children to know how to be a father. Like that's what me and my older son's dad is actually going through. And he even, like, we had like a whole sit down not too long ago over the summer, and he apologized to my son and everything, like, listen, I didn't know how to be a dad because I didn't have that. Some people they don't have it, and then they automatically know how to do it. Some people don't though, and like how can I never bashed him because I feel like I already knew the situation. I'm partly responsible for how I ended up in my own situation. So I cannot put this on somebody else and say, hey, I'm a single parent because these guys left me. No, I'm a single parent because I did not take the time to do what we are talking about, and that's dating this person, figuring out this person. That's why I wanted to know your opinions on dating as a single parent, and just how you felt about the persons meeting the guy. Now, Ms. Natiria, you mentioned something that kind of like caught my attention, but we did not expand on it, so we have to go back to it. You said that if there's a child, if the child is a daughter, and there are a lot of guys in and out, that could be traumatizing. Can you speak a little bit more on that?
Yeah, I think it's traumatizing because it's teaching her that it's okay to, be with multiple men, and it's just either two things can happen. She can be promiscuous in her lifetime, or she can be very reserved and don't open up at all. I just think it's very unhealthy to let your, especially little girls, meet these different guys. It's not healthy, like I said, and it can definitely be traumatizing.
I definitely agree, because I'm going to admit my own bias, because I have 3 kids and my oldest is my daughter. Now, my sons, they could go 2-3 weeks and don't call me, and it's like, whatever. She go 2-3 days and don't call me. I'm like, hey, it's like, hey, I'm still here. I'm alive. How come I haven't heard from you? She's like, Dad, it's only been 2-3 days. I was like, and it's like, I realize that now that I do that, the sons, whatever, her, how come you haven't called me? But me and her always been close. And because these are the things, because I want her, when she chooses a guy, I want her to understand that you're not going to pick up anybody and think you're going to bring them here and say, this is my boyfriend. You're going to embarrass this man and yourself. You don't want to do that. So now people think she's so picky because she's single, and people think she's so picky, don't have any boyfriend, no husband, and but it's what?
But she has self-worth, though.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what you taught her. Because seeing the men makes you not have any self-worth from experience.
Listen, so I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a story here, right? I agree with everything you just said, you both said, because that's what I saw. I saw, when I lived with my mom, I saw it, and y'all, I hope they don't kill me later. But when I lived with my dad, I saw it. You know what I mean? It's just like people, like in and out. And I ended up in an abusive relationship, and when me and my dad, we were having a conversation about it, and he was like, you know, well, Asha, how did you end up in that situation? And I'm just like, cause I thought it was love, you know what I mean? I didn't see love, so I don't know. I didn't know what it was until now. So hearing that your daughter knows what she deserves is awesome, cause here I am 35 and I'm just now understanding how to figure out what it is that I deserve in a mate. But I have 2 children. You get what I'm saying? So it's not saying it's a little too late, but it is a little later in life. If they had shown me, then I may have not taken the routes that I have. But I said all that to say, just when I was with the guy who was abusing me, and you know, I'm thinking like, oh, I'm just so I'm in love over here, y'all. Like, I am in love. And my dad was like, well, that was not love. And I'm just telling my dad, but you guys never showed me what love is. When I was with my mom, I didn't see her in a loving, committed relationship. So that's why I wanted you to speak on that, just so that people can understand that that is very traumatizing, and you don't know how it will affect the child. Like, I never pictured my life turning out the way that it has, but I'm grateful that I did go through that situation, because I feel like it made me a better person. It made me want to be a better person, but it just could have all been avoided had someone taken the time to, again, figure these conversations out. And that's why, again, I'm so thankful that you guys were willing to just take the time to sit down with me and even have this open communication, because I'm learning a lot. Y'all think I'm just over here listening, but I'm learning a lot, and I can listen, let my sons hear this and help them and nurturing them in ways that, you know, that I'm still figuring it out along my journey. So thank you again, both.
No, you're very welcome. And just before you go, I will add one more thing. The part earlier when you said some guys like to use the excuse, I didn't have a dad, so I didn't know what to do. And it's really about, what did you want? If you didn't like the way you were raised, the way you were treated, then guess what? Don't pass it on. You know, it is really that simple, because I didn't like the fact that I didn't know who my father was. You know, I didn't like that. So I made sure, me personally, that I don't pass that on to my children. And I was around many people who was in that situation, but you know what? At some point, you got to say, I'm not like them, and I got to do different from them. If you do they did, that means you were like them from day one, so it didn't matter. You were going to do that. So just wanted to add that.
It's definitely a choice.
Right. That's what I tell my. Sorry, that's what I tell my son, because you know, you hear a lot of the time, you hear, oh, life is hard. No, life is not hard. Life is just choices. You make a choice, you have 2 choices, you have 2 options and everything. And your life is going to be based upon the choices that you make along the way. That's all it is. It's not hard. It's just based on your choices. Did you want to say something, Atiri? I'm sorry, I think I cut you off.
I said just make better choices for a better life. You are right in what you're saying.
Right. Now, I do want to we got a few more questions before I let you guys run out of here. Now, Kevin, you did mention a little bit earlier that you actually put yourself on child support. When did you do that? Like, did you have the kids with you when you put yourself on child support, or were they back with their moms when you did that? That's what I was wondering about.
They were with me before. I mean, I did it, before I moved to Florida. I was still in New York at the time. And when I was going through some issues with her when they were much younger, and I said, you know what? I feel one day I might have to go for custody. So I went about what the process would be. And in finding out the process is when this came about, well, actually on record, there's no thing, visitation, anything. So you'll have a hard time. So that's when I stumbled onto that information. And from there on, knowing what I was going through at that time, I made it my business to say, okay, grin and bear it, and said, all right, and move forward with it. So that's what I did. That's what I did.
And when you had the children, were you still on child support, or did she take you off, or how did that work? If you put yourself on child support, did she have to take you off, or did you stay on child support although you had the children with you?
What she did was, before she graduated nursing school, she sent a letter to the child support place, where they no longer took the child support out of my pay, although I was leaving the state, but that they didn't know that at the time. Matter of fact, it happened probably a year before I left, where the payment would stop. Because one of the things that I found out too, just to let you know, when I did put myself on child support, I automatically fell $5,000 in the hole, automatically, because I wasn't around. There was so they kind of like backlogged it somehow, however they do it. So it's like, I was automatically, so I started off in the hole. It was like, okay, we're going to start. No, you haven't been around, this and that, calculated, whatever they did. Woo, $5,000 automatically in the hole. I'm like, oh God, what did I do?
So did you guys have did you have like a court date? Like because I know when we went to child support court, it was just like, hey, I started the child support, so let's go to court. And then it was kind of like, they didn't get served. And that got on my nerves, y'all. I have to put this on record. That some kind of way they got served to know that we had a court date. But because the officers did not hand them the paper, when we got to court, they say, hey, well, you didn't get served properly. So if you want your 30 days, you can get your 30 days and we can come back in 30 days. And some idiots, did I say that on record? Some idiots do that, but
yeah, it's about.
I think that's so silly.
When people are getting served, yeah, if it don't enter your hands, yeah, especially if you know what it is, But
somebody took it. That's what I'm saying. Somebody took it for them. Huh?
Well, if the intended person did not get it, then they have basis. They weren't served, because you don't really know they did get. Because
they showed up for court.
Well,
they showed up for court on the court date.
Well, I don't know that.
But see, that's what I'm saying. They showed up for court on the court date, but they still gave them that option to say, hey, because you weren't properly served, I'll go ahead and give you 30 days if you want it. Some guys do it. Now, see, I brought that up because when they did do that, or they offered that to one of them, I was just like, hey, and when they get done doing this, dragging me back to court because I'm already having to put them on child support to help me, then I want to get back child support. So that's what I'm wondering. Like, did you guys not go to child support court to where she could have said, like, hey, I don't want to get any back child support. Let's just start it from right now. Like, because that was an option for us.
No, what happened is this. New York, if she was getting any kind of help from the state, you ultimately will pay the state back in some cases. You will pay the state back. So if you were And then, like I said, that's a New York State thing that if you weren't around, they automatically rear you, put you in the rear because there wasn't any evidence that you were paying. Now, if you had receipts, because I didn't have the evidence. So if you had evidence that up until that court date you were paying, then you wouldn't be backlogged, so to speak. You wouldn't be put in arrears. But since I didn't have any paperwork, receipts, or any of that stuff saying I've been paying child support, then you automatically go in the hole.
Okay, that makes more sense for me now. Okay, so are you guys open to collaborations? If so, like of what nature? When I say of what nature, I'm referring to like podcast interviews, content creation. I don't know if we started back doing events, but if that is an option, event attendance, sponsored posts, sponsored Insta posts, ambassadorships, like what are you open to doing, if anything? We're gonna start with Miss Nataria.
Yes, I'm open to interviews and content creation. I'm not sure about events right now, but yeah, I'll definitely be open to even ambassadorship or whatever. I'm open to it all.
And how could someone connect with you if they were interested in taking you up on that offer?
I can be reached at natariajohnson@gmail.com. That's my personal email.
And is that the best way to contact you? Like, you don't do social media? You don't have any social media? What do they call? I can't even think, y'all. I can't even think. Yes, social media panels. You don't have any social media panels?
I have Nataria Johnson on Facebook and Instagram. Nataria_ is my realtor. Those are my two social media platforms.
Okay, and they are okay for them to contact you on either of those as well as the email?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so Mr. Reality, are you open to any collaborations? If so, what nature?
I'm open to pretty much any kind of collaboration, to be honest, because when you mentioned earlier about mentorship, I actually do have a nonprofit organization where, we deal with a lot of stuff like, from finances is of course at the top of the list, mentor, and of course I want to do things, like I'm looking to put together like a Father's Day breakfast, stuff like that for like next year, where fathers come out. A lot of things, COVID kind of messed with a lot of last year's plans, but a lot of it I do gear stuff towards fathers, to help them be better fathers or be closer in their children's lives. So yes, I am open to different, what you pretty much name it, I'm probably open to it to help spread whatever I can spread out here, in a positive way. So you name it, events, just let me know what the events are, and I'm always open if I can make it, sure, if not, but anything I can do to spread it.
Now, if someone were interested in connecting with you to take you up on that, how could they contact you?
You can reach me at mrrealitylives@gmail.com.
And is that the best way? Like, you don't have any social media panels or anything?
No, I'm actually not on social media. I do need to do one for my nonprofit, a social media page, but I have not done that yet. But Mr. Reality Lives is my email address. You can reach me at that. And because I've actually, matter of fact, if you could just do, because usually when you reach out to me to do this, it went through the podcast email, the Anchor email. And so that's how it said that you wanted to. So if you could just reach out directly without me having to go through the podcast email, because that's how I usually get your email. So, but yeah, MrRealityMake@gmail.com.
I would like to take the last few moments that we have together just to say thank you from the bottom of my heart for visiting with me today. And ask that if you could take a few more moments just to leave the show a review, I would greatly appreciate it. And if no one has told you today, you are freaking awesome. So until next time, you take care of yourself and those babies. You money-making mommy, you.
Thanks for listening to the Mommy Talks podcast. Dive into the show notes for this episode and all past episodes at www.mommytalkspodcast.com. If you love this show, share it with a friend. The more the merrier. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time, you money-making mommy, you.